Hey everybody, welcome back to the Convo Couch. I'm Fiorella.
And I am Pasta Jardula.
Awesome. And
And
we are back.
Johnny Sue is still spinning on those ones and twos. Fam, if we're going to switch spots, you got to nail it. I sat there and grinned while you started us off. You know what I'm saying? So you can't forget about Johnny Sue on the ones and twos. And I want to send a big up to a guy who spun the ones and twos back in the days. MF Doom has passed on. We love you, MF Doom, and we will be missed. He is one of my favorite hip hop artists of all time, fam. So that's why we can never forget about those guys like Johnny spinning on the ones and twos.
Yeah, that's right. R.I.P. MF Doom. On the last day, right? The last day of the year.
Well, not even. He died on the 31st. Am I centered right, Johnny? Because I want to make sure I look like I'm not centered right. It looks like he died on the 31st of October.
Oh.
But his wife just reported it now, so that's what I think is happening.
That's weird. It's a long time.
It is a long time, and who knows why. He was a very mysterious man, and he was awesome. Like I said, he was one of my favorite hip-hop stars of all time, and he will be missed. It's a shame that he's gone. It's been a crazy year, fam, 2020. Crazy day today on the Senate floor, too, as well, over the last couple of days. But before we get going, I think we should tell people what we're doing. Why don't you let the people out there know what's going on this week?
Yeah, so we're going to be going to D.C. In a couple days, and we're going to be covering the Julian Assange protest, the Julian Assange pleas that he's not extradited, and we're also going to be awaiting, of course, on January 4th, the verdict from Judge Vanessa Barrister, who will be giving the verdict of whether he gets extradited or not. But people all over the world are actually lining up to pay attention to this because it is the biggest, most important press freedom trial of our time. In addition to that, we are also going to be covering the Force the Vote protests that are happening with the progressive movement. Jimmy Dore raised a lot of awareness. He was the one that actually was pushing for this, but it's grown into something bigger. And Jackson Hinkle actually is the organizer who actually led the protests, and all kinds of people are participating in it. And we're going to be covering that. And then also, we're going to be covering the protests for the election integrity from the Trump supporters, correct? On the 6th as well.
Yep.
So there's going to be lots of things going on throughout the week in D.C.
How does my voice sound? Is it better when I hold it up here, Johnny? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to hold this up like that. Yeah, it is the last. Well, it might not be the last one, but it will be the last one until the electoral delegates, I guess, the electoral college will be making their votes on the 6th. Let me tell you something, fam. I know we're going to get into this, and I'm eager to go to a Force the Vote, pushing for Medicare for all, which I believe in. You know what I'm saying? I to some, it's their number one issue. To me, obviously, I care about civil liberties and elections because I believe that is the gateway to getting the progressive and populist policies we want. However, I've always believed in Medicare for all, and I believe it's important, mainly because of mental illness and people on the streets due to mental illness. And I think it's important. But I love the fact that the Convo Couch can go over there. We can talk at a Force the Vote with a lot of progressives. We can go to the Julian Assange event, and then we'll turn around because we are electoral activists. We are, and we believe. I know we're all on the record for believing what happened as far as the steal going on, because it was easy for us to spot. But to go to those type of events across the board, ladies and gentlemen, lock us in, subscribe, get to our Rokfin, join up. Thank you, Steve Wolbrand, and support the Convo Couch because we're going to cover everything across the board. We're not afraid to go talk to the other side just because we're on the left and and people disagree with us. We're going to go talk to them, and I'm looking forward to. We're supposed to speak at the Force the Vote event. I hope I get a chance to speak at the Stop the Steal event. So, I'm very excited about this. We're going to start the new year off right. And the most important, I think, too, is Julian Assange, which is, God forbid he gets sentenced and he's thrown in a prison over here. Where do our freedom of the press, the fourth is stop, fam? Where do we go from there?
Exactly. And this is, like I said, this is a very pivotal case and not enough attention is being paid to it. And I'm hopeful that there will be some coordination, that there will be coalitions built with people, fighting for Medicare for all, because it's all related. If you look exactly at how this government, if you want to call it that, this oligarchy is operating, they are not only encroaching on press freedoms, on your privacy, on anything that is remotely makes you free. They're also encroaching on our right to actually live a sustainable, normal life by not giving you Medicare for all, by not giving you any sort of health care, by denying a stimulus, which is what we're going to go into in a minute. And what more evidence do you need that we don't live in a democracy, that we live in an oligarchy, than seeing how these politicians have rejected every single thing that the progressives have requested. And yet we still have some progressives who think that you can reform the Democratic Party, that you can somehow change it from the inside. And I am so sorry, but it is becoming extremely clear that unfortunately, those of us who said this isn't going to work were right. And it's unfortunate because we didn't want to be right. We wanted there to be a possibility. When Pasta and I started the show, we wanted to work, have an inside-outside strategy. But that is no longer it's obviously not possible. You have more Republicans who voted to give people this $2,000 stimulus than Democrats. You have your vice president to be Kamala Harris, who actually voted against it. So, I mean, this is all part of what we're talking about. This is all connected. And if they can extradite Julian Assange and they can take his rights away for telling you the truth, then forget about everything else that we would like to achieve. Forget about talking to people and informing them. Forget about this YouTube channel or others, hundreds of others that are being shut down. So.
Yeah. I mean, we've been getting complaints from people saying, hey, man, why did you take down my comment on YouTube? It's like, we didn't take down your comment on YouTube, and then YouTube's already playing games. I can see the throttling on Twitter for me big time. I've never experienced it this way because I talk about election integrity, and they are so desperately trying to sweep this under the rug. And we'll get to this whole situation, too, because, man, I'm just upset what a big opportunity was lost, and I'll explain what's going on. But let's get back to what happened when you were just talking about Kamala Harris, because what she did, again, was very crypto. You know what I'm saying? She sponsored something cryptic, as a crypto fascist or crypto whatever, taking away. It was very cryptic what she did. These progressives, these Democrats, the establishment, fam. I've been telling people left and right, it's more about what fam says. We can't think Democrat. We can't think Republican. We got to know it's the establishment. They work together and lines are being drawn. I mean, and even still, when it came to the repealing repealing the veto of Trump's NDAA. Yeah, I mean, you had the Squad and Rokfin and everybody in the House and Tulsi and Massey and all the people that we knew vote against the veto, but all the establishment, lock, stock, and barrel, the Debbie Wasserman Schultz's and then the Nancy Pelosi's and the Adam Schiff's, and they overrid this veto, which they hide behind it's going to be for the troops. We can't leave them in harm's way. When we know the majority of this defense budget is going right into contractors' pockets. It's not just about the troops. Very little of it goes to the troops. And once again, they find ways to throw out their propaganda, trick their constituents to think that they're fighting for them. But really, at the end of the day, they're screwing you right there. So let's go over Nicole Alexander Fisher's tweets. And I think it's really good to note because somebody popular tweeted her and somebody used her tweet on the floor of the Senate. So it's really cool. But she put up, here's what happened today in the Senate regarding the $2,000 checks for anyone confused. The two items on the agenda are overriding Trump's NDAA vote and the stimulus payment increase. Now, previously, these were passed inside the House. So then they were moved over to the Senate. They hit McConnell's desk. Sanders and Markey plan to leverage one to get the other, but Dem leadership may stop them, and we'll get into that. Issue number one, overriding Trump's NDAA veto. Last week, Trump vetoed our massive NDAA defense budget that Congress passed. There are numerous concerns with the legislation, but Trump is focused on repealing Section 230 and blocking the renaming of the Confederate named bases. And that is true, by the way. So if you want any comments on that, I mean, that is the majority of that bill. I've always said I think that Trump has more of a nationalist mentality more than a globalist mentality. Not that he doesn't want to fund war. He'll certainly fund his buddies in Israel and Saudi Arabia. But there are areas to select. I think he doesn't want to spend so much money over there, maybe come home. But your thoughts on that, fam?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm more interested in the 230 section. I mean, I think he's obviously playing to his base here, but the fact that, we're looking at this as how the Democrats don't use their leverage is extremely important because the Democrats obviously were unable to do that. They completely just rejected that. And a lot of people are saying, well, that's unfortunate that the Democrats did that. I can't believe they did that. They constantly do this time and time again. Every single time, at every turn, they bend over, they fold. Unlike the Republican Party, when they want something, they don't fold. So again, this is the issue with the Democratic Party. And yet we still have progressives who refuse to demand this Medicare for all floor vote. So it just goes back to me with the inability of people on the supposed left, because it's not the left, right, to actually garner some leverage. You generate some power, know how to negotiate. You don't go into the negotiating table without first having something to hold over. And what happened with the Joe Biden transition and what's happening right now at this very moment is that progressives don't have any electoral power because they've constantly capitulated to the Democratic centrists and the Democratic Party.
Yep, and make no mistake about it, McConnell he didn't want this going through. He's a deficit hawk, just like his buddy Joe Biden, who might be the president. We think is going to be the president. They're both deficit hawks. They didn't want to give the extra money out there. You know what I'm saying? Even McConnell on the floor saying, we don't have to give socialism to the rich. My name is Elmer Fudd, and I'm your Kentucky representative. But we don't have to give socialism to the rich. And he was kind of talking to a point that should be made. But in his state, he has 10 of the most 28 poorest counties. 75% of his constituents in his state really need this $2,000 check, maybe even 80% of it. They really need this $2,000 check. So the fact that he's even taken out, some of the progressive lines saying, hey, we don't have to give this check to these rich people who are going to get it. And it's true, right? I mean, a lot of rich people don't work, so they don't have salary. And it's about your salary, whether you get this check or not. But they have a lot of money sitting in the stock market. My mom got a check last time. My mom's best friend got a check last time. They're millionaires. They don't need it. And they've even said to me, we don't need this check. So, I mean, there is something to look at there. But it is straight propaganda. And the Democrats, what they're going to do with this whole thing, Kamala Harris, Amy Klobuchar, Chuck the Schmuck Schumer, all these people are going to point the finger and act like it's the Republicans that stopped this. And it was Mitch McConnell with, once again, within themselves, and we'll get to it, folded. They bent the knee again to the establishment. So we'll get to that too as well. So 230 right there. The NDAA is a must-pass piece of legislation. The military cannot be funded without it. Some Democrats and Republicans have imposed what is in the NDAA and voted against it last week, but passing this is largely bipartisan. Both parties want to override Trump's veto. Issue number 2, the stimulus increase from $600 to $2,000. Because Trump is now behind increasing the $600 payments to $2,000, the vast majorities of Democrats now support this. Previously, the Democrats didn't even put a survival check in the latest package before pushing the $600. Right. Something else to note, fam, right? We talked about this before when they were putting out their first package and the controlled House, Nancy Pelosi has the power. There wasn't even a check. It was unemployment benefit extension, but there wasn't even a check. Your thoughts there, fam?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like the Democrats, a lot, like even some progressives are pretending like, oh, only Bernie is pushing this issue. Actually, he was initially pushing the $1,200, and we know that Nancy Pelosi decided not to give Trump any win, so she completely refused to push anything higher at all, anything at all. And so now what we're looking at is that we're seeing that both parties are working together, and the Republicans are working against Trump. And you have Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders in agreement over $2,000 checks for people. It just goes to show you this is 2020. This is the year where all of this starts to make sense, and some of it doesn't make any sense. But you really, really see that it's irrelevant to talk about parties at this point. It's more of the individual issues and who is really is really a psychopath and who really isn't. At this point, $2,000 is the minimum that people should be getting, especially after 10 months of coronavirus and only one $1,200 check that not everybody got. So again, you're seeing the oligarchy. You're seeing the divide between the people and the establishment. And you said it yourself, Mitch McConnell's state, Kentucky, people need this stimulus. It's not a question about necessity. It's a question about how far they're willing to push people, and people, we've let it come this far, and it's very clear right now that the only battles we're having right now is between the people and the oligarchy itself, and we're quickly learning who's really on the side of people and who isn't. Those Democrats that initially were in line with Trump decided to fold as well. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, fam, I said there's always some rogue actors on the right. We have some of those libertarian-minded people, and you got this guy Josh Hawley, who, once again, it's an unusual combination to see Senator Sanders and Josh Hawley working together to get money. But this guy was on the floor going after Zuckerberg, fighting for our civil liberties. He said he's going to protest. One of the only senators that said he's going to protest against McConnell's will. He's going to protest the election results too, as well, on the 6th. It's just kind of weird to see a guy pushing for us to get $2,000 checks. He's on the right. He's pushing for civil liberties. He's pushing for fair elections. I mean, I wonder how he feels on getting out of the Afghan war. I'd like to see more about that. But that's the thing. It's like, what party is doing what? You know what I'm saying? Because we did have some people stand with us on the left, but then they folded when they had the chance. Let me read the rest of the stuff, the tweet, because Nicole Alexander Fisher. The House voted on both issue 1 and 2 last night. Both the override of Trump's NDAA veto and the stimulus increase passed the House. Both of these went to the Senate this morning. This morning, McConnell wanted a unanimous consent to override President Trump's veto for the NDAA without addressing the $2,000 payments in his desk. If each senator consented to support overriding Trump's NDAA veto, the Senate could close and everybody would have went home for the New Year's. Senator Bernie Sanders, though, and Ed Markey both opposed this, stating that they will not unanimously consent to override Trump's NDAA veto unless the $2,000 stimulus increase is brought on the floor for a vote. McConnell was then forced to schedule a Senate vote tomorrow on the veto override. However, Senator Sanders may oppose this further and filibuster the vote until the end of the week, keeping the Senate in session until they pass the new year, preventing the senators from going home. Senator Sanders and Markey plan to filibuster this and delay the must-pass veto override until the floor vote occurs with those $2,000 payments. While Republicans in the Senate largely oppose increasing the payments, some, including Georgia senators up for re-election, moved to support it. Senator Schumer then tried to bring the Senate to a unanimous consent to the $2,000 payments. McConnell opposed this. He knew he was going to oppose this. This is what we talk about, kabuki theater from this guy. Calling for unanimous consent is not the same as the Senate floor vote. It's basically a shortcut to pass something without calling everyone in for a vote. McConnell then said the Senate would consider $2,000 payments if it includes a couple of the things for the Trump wish list, including the repeal of Section 230 and the NDAA, and opposing the renaming of the Confederate bases. However, Senator Sanders and Markey stated they want a clean bill. I want to pause here right now, fam, because I want your opinions about this right now. I don't know why they're married to, well, you answer this. Why are they married to protecting 230? And why I know they want to have these bases change their names because they're Confederate leaders and whatnot. But is that really that important if you have to give up those two things to get those checks?
Well, I mean, it's just go back to the leverage issue, right? You have these things. You use this against McConnell and the right. You have to use your leverage, and again, they're not doing that. And yes, while I don't necessarily like that statues are named and certain monuments are named with names that are offensive to a lot of people, I think that's also an issue. But right now we're talking about something about saving people's lives, and we're talking about a $2,000 check that means the world to so many people. So I think that you kind of have to prioritize, right? And it's to me what we're going to be what we saw yesterday too is that the Democratic Party comes together with the establishment Republicans too, and they completely shafted Sanders and any effort he was trying to do to help people. And by the way, I still feel like what Sanders was doing is a little late, but at the same time, he was the only one. He is the most progressive senator we have right now, and he was joined by very few other senators, including Elizabeth Warren, who actually were trying to do the decent thing, and even then, that was an impossible task.
Yeah. And that brings you to the next point. However, the Democratic whip, Senator Dick Durbin, is pushing to pass the override of Trump's veto of the NDAA. This is essentially pulling the rug out from Sanders and Markey to plan to hold leverage against the Republicans. So it started right there. Nicole Alexander completes with, "We will know tomorrow when the Senate resumes session and whether the Dems in the Senate will join Sanders and Markey in delaying the veto override, bring up some new way to leverage Senate Republicans, or accept the $2,000 payments if they include Trump's wish list." By the way, McConnell then wanted to bring something else, his own bill, to the floor, which seemed like a moot point because it would have to go back to the House because it had to be appropriated, and they wouldn't be able to do that because the House is in session and is done. But it was to repeal 230, keep the names of the Confederate stuff, but also have a bipartisan commission to investigate election fraud, which I think was full of shit. I looked at it. It's something that these establishment players just want to act like they're looking at it and then sweeping it under the rug. So I wasn't excited about that, even though I'm an election integrity guy. And what's going on in the hearings right now is just amazing. The Georgia hearing was just great, and there's more stuff to this as well that we'll get into. Georgia has been playing fugazi games the whole way. But that was Nicole Alexander. And she was also retweeted by the Teflon Don, Donald Trump, retweeted our friend Nicole Alexander, Mrs. Fisher, and then Bernie Sanders uses her stuff on the floor. So I asked her, I said, "How do you feel about that?" She goes, "I don't know how I feel about that." She was definitely more tickled when Bernie Sanders also brought it on the floor. So she was like, "Yeah, that was pretty cool. That was awesome." So big ups to her and big ups to the work she's been doing, whatnot. Now, the part we got to really talk about, fam, too, was the vote today, because this is what it really was all about. McConnell, the way he gets this through was procedural, not unanimous consent. Yes. So what he had to do was pretty much put a vote on the floor to have debate on overriding the veto. Now, with the overriding of the veto, and I let me get this straight. I think there's a term that they use. I want to make sure if I can find it real quick. It's called cloture, okay, of something of that sort. Meaning that McConnell, being the leader, can limit the debate to 30 hours. So therefore, you can't filibuster it longer than 30 hours. So this debate that came up, this vote that came up, right? If in fact the Democrats held the line, went together and said no on this, they would be stuck in the same spot playing ping pong. This is where they bent the knee as well. And I took this up here from Common Dreams. I mean, this is just a shame right over here. And it says, after GOP reportedly blocked the vote on the $2,000 checks, 41 Democrats joined McConnell to advance the $740 billion Pentagon bill. And it was Chuck the Schmuck, who was acting once again, Kabuki Theater, your new vice president to be, maybe Kamala Harris, Amy Klobuchar, you know what I'm saying? They had 6 Republicans join 5 Democrats and the 1 independent, Bernie Sanders. So if the Democrats wanted to hold the line, they would have voted no. But they bent the knee, essentially meaning within 30 minutes, there's got to be a day rest in between, so they can't start the debate tomorrow. They'll start the debate on Friday. By Saturday, as we are touching down in D.C., they will be passing and overriding his veto for the defense budget, and then they can go home and you only get the plebs $600.
And this is exactly what's showing us that these politicians are actors. They're not public servants. Who are they serving? Because if you look at the vast majority of people who want a stimulus, the public, everybody is saying $600 is not enough. So who are you serving then? Obviously, we know who they're serving, but at the same time, it's I don't think it's ever been more clear to people than right now. This is the time to push anything you want. Like if we're talking about direct action, so many things that a lot of the left loves to talk a big game about, but when it comes time to actually do these things, a lot of people dismiss it, right? And we're going to be talking about that as well. But Pasta, I mean, this just goes to show you, don't talk to me about the Georgia Senate race. Don't talk to me about the bullshit of helping elect more Democrats. Why? So they can do this? This is who the Democratic Party is. This is who they are. They're showing you exactly who they are. Why continue to support them? Tell me what will fucking change if we get a majority of Democrats in the Senate. Tell me, because they're voting right in line with the establishment Republicans. So stop with the bullshit of asking me to make phone calls for neoliberals who literally fall in line right with conservatives when it comes to giving people who are losing everything they have any sort of help. And that includes Medicare for all. It includes the stimulus. It includes anything. But they have zero issues funding their defense industry, projects that they have. Zero issue on any of that. It's disgusting, and that was what was proved yesterday, Pasta. And I don't understand how you could ever advocate for the Democratic Party reform after these last few days of what we've seen them do. How we've seen them fall in line. People like Amy Klobuchar, who ran for president, Kamala Harris, all of these senators, where are they? They're nowhere to be found. So stop asking me to vote for a Democrat just because they're a Democrat by name.
Yeah. Well, I know what we'll get from it, fam, if we get for a Democrat. We'll get nice, fluffy virtue signaling all the time. And a lot of this has to do with, there are some people out there, so we have to start paying attention. We have to start watching more C-SPAN, and I think in the next year we have to do more reporting on what goes on in the Senate floor, and learning and understanding ourselves, these procedures, because they put up this kabuki theater so each side can blame each other. Meanwhile, they're working together. They understand the procedural stuff, and we get nothing. No populist things ever get passed. I mean, once again, McConnell is a lot to blame on this. His constituents needed this money, but the Democrats didn't hold the line. Chuck Schumer put up that vote for unanimous consent because he knew was going to get opposed, right?
Exactly.
And then when it was time for him to hold the line, he bends the knee. So did Kamala Harris. So did Amy Klobuchar. Why do this? I mean, because you're working for your donors, and we know why.
And stop being surprised. This is what happens. Rinse, repeat. Democrats screw the American people over. Oh, my God, I can't believe they did that. Oh, let's all be mad and angry at them. Oh, let's continue voting for them. Let's continue putting people into the Democratic Party. Rinse, repeat. Oh, they screwed us again. Oh, let's get mad and have outrage, and then nothing changes. Rinse and repeat. It's happening over and over and over and over again, and we still have people preaching the same tired old tactics of Democratic Party reform. When is it going to be enough? When is it going to be enough? If it's not enough now in a pandemic, in a COVID crisis that has the economic crisis, in my opinion, has been far worse than anything we've seen, and it's going to get even worse. When is the right moment then to fight for any of these things? When is it? Because if it's not this, I'm waiting for somebody to tell me when that moment will be.
Well, they're going to say Orange Man bad, Mitch McConnell bad. They're going to do their thing.
Right.
Should I read some super chats real quick?
Yeah.
All right, Steve Wilbrand, Happy New Year. Keep fighting. We love you. Steve Wilbrand, we love you too. Steve Wilbrand again, why weren't you guys on the Medicare for All town hall, and what's on Fam's head? Fam is wearing a tiara crown from New Year's, and I don't know why, but we will be there at the actual events hosted by Jackson Hinkle. Fiorella is supposed to talk. I'm supposed to talk. And we'll be there, Steve. So don't worry about it. If they didn't have us there, you know us. Sometimes they don't put us in there because we steal the show. We're much better looking than a lot of people, and they get afraid of that. So, hey, it doesn't. We'll go do what we got to do. You guys put us in the position to go do these things, and we love you.
We just didn't get an invite, but that's okay because
don't worry about it.
We do the work. We're going to be on the ground. We're going to be interviewing people. We're going to be talking to people. We're going to be doing what we do. So,
the answer to the fees question. This is Mike Ungerleiter. Ungie, what will change if the Dems take the Senate is that we will lose the thin shred of hope we are clinging to for transparency and accountability. And I think he's talking about election integrity. And thank you to Denny McCarty over on the Rokfin for giving us the Super Ray. We got 13 people over there. We need more, guys.
We need more.
Rokfin
Come on.
is the platform. Once Biden gets in, if he gets in, forget about the censorship. It's running wild. They take down a lot of stuff. Like I said, they've been suppressing our comments. And man, I've never felt it this hard on Twitter because this is the last push for election integrity over there. But when we go there, to DC, we're going to be educating people on the actual framework, what they need to do moving forward. I'm writing out a sheet to hand out. We're going to educate people on elections itself, because that really is the shame of what's going on right now, is that through these elections, and Jonny can tell you, I wish he had a microphone, because he knows more than anything, and he's been on this battle with Raji Rob, paying close attention to this. I've been talking to election integrity activists, you yourself too, fam. You spoke in the, at the city council,
Board of Elections,
Board of Elections for, who picked the registrar of LA. What they do the whole time is they deny your data.
They
deny anytime, big time. They don't give it to you. They give you bullshit reasons why they don't want to give it to you. But anytime we want to get in there, if we want to have a forensic analysis, if we want to have a third-party audit, they say no. They hide the data. They keep it away from us. And there was just some breaking news that we just had as I was sitting here talking to you folks. There was some more news to come in right now. But I want to talk about the Georgia hearings. Don't get me wrong, guys. This was hours, like 5 hours. I can go over this. You know how I am with these goddamn hearings. And I was trying to flip back between that and the Senate floor, Kabuki Theater on the Senate floor. But what was happening in the Georgia hearings are just gold. It's just gold, because these statisticians, these mathematical analysis, these guys who follow these voting patterns give you so much information, and they show you exactly what's going on. But there's a new name that's come to the forefront right now. I didn't hear about this guy until now. His name is Jovan Pulitzer. And this guy is actually, I think he was one of the inventors of the QR code. He's been in the business as far as electronics and software and things like this, barcodes, QR codes for years. There's over 12 billion of his products being used around the world. And he was really disturbed about what had happened on election night. So he's come to the forefront not too long ago. I've been following this guy, trying to get a hold of him, trying to get on the show. Well, he appeared in Georgia the other day. Now, I want to explain who Jovan Pulitzer is. Now, when he got interviewed by a right-wing network, because, as you know, MSNBC, CNN, they're not showing up for these events, and they're not talking to these people. So I got a little Twitter right here in 2 minutes of explaining who he is and what he can do to help out the whole situation. This guy is brand new. I sent this to Raji, Jonny. I sent this to some electoral activists, election integrity activists who've never seen this before. So this is explaining right here who Jovan Pulitzer is, so you can take a look.
Forensic level that you can tell absolutely the difference between paper here in the United States or paper that was made in China. There's different formulations, different inks, even different fibers. And on our systems, we're able to tell every one of these. But the bottom line is really simple. Regardless of the side you're on, this is no longer about the president. This is no longer about parties. This is only about you as a citizen. Will your vote count going forward?
Pulitzer, who created QR code Scan to Connect and helped pioneer fixed dial-up internet, switched gears after election night. He says when he saw the ballot counts spike for Biden on election night and heard of witnesses testifying about masses of mail-in ballots with no folds, he was moved to create technology to check the authenticity of a ballot using a forensic scan. Checking the folds is part of the forensic inspection. Pulitzer explains the technology can also detect the kind of ink used to mark the ballot.
All of these have unique IDs, but the one that was done by a machine, because their printing dynamics are completely different, sticks out like a sore thumb. Here is a faked squiggle by a computer. Even though they could try to come up with fake squiggles by a computer, the one on the right, you still see the artifacts left over by it being a simple printing mechanism. All of these can be easily decoded.
He says he's working with litigators to potentially do these forensic scans in many of the contested states where some suspect fraudulent ballots were counted. But the first step will be right here in Georgia.
So we're hoping to get this done Tuesday or Wednesday, unless we get blocked by either the county or the court.
And Favorito says if the court dismisses the case, they are prepared to take it all the way up to the highest court. Melina Weiskup, NTD News.
Okay. Unmute yourself. Okay.
Yeah, I got it. All right. So, fam, what do you think about this new guy on the spot right now? And don't get me wrong, they asked him, they said, well, what about ballots coming from China? And he was like, listen, I can tell you where the paper's coming from. I can tell you if it was just straight. I can tell if the machine is marking it. I can tell you all this stuff right now where we don't even need to necessarily get into the program of the software as much, that we can get an idea of what's going on. to see which ballots are fraudulent and which ballots aren't fraudulent.
Well, QR codes are very tricky because I remember actually going to vote and I didn't have I had my envelope for the primary with Bernie Sanders and Biden, the whole shebang. And I remember I had my QR code envelope and they weren't finding me through that envelope. And that's what they were asking people to use, but they weren't finding. So they had to find me another way. So QR codes can be easily used and manipulated for all sorts of things. I mean, now we're using them for, if you go to a restaurant, you use them for a restaurant menu, and it has to have a very specific code. So it's honestly very interesting, but I really, really liked what he said. This isn't about whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. This is just about whether your vote's going to count. And, it's a form of gaslighting that the Democratic Party establishment is talking about. Ooh, let's count all the votes. Let's count all the votes. Yet they're not doing that. And they didn't do that. They haven't been doing that for decades, especially to progressives. And when we talk about the elections and when we say things like Bernie Sanders should have won, America chose the wrong guy. America didn't choose Joe Biden. Not since the primary and not thereafter. People have to come to terms with that. It is a form of acceptance that needs to happen. And people are still clinging on to hope that that's not the case, that no, Democrats only cheat in the primaries, that they don't rig the general, that, our country's still democratic, that our vote still counts. And it's not like that. I've seen Democrats rig ADEM elections. So you're not going to convince me that these powerful people aren't going to use mechanisms to do this. We've seen countless amounts of evidence. People want a detailed report by the New York Times. That's never going to happen because we're not allowed to see into these machines. And you can smear people all you want. You can call them conspiracy theorists. But that's the reality is no matter how much evidence, as much as possible that can be presented, fam, we're never allowed to look into our elections. So that right off the bat should tell you that needs to change at the very least.
Yeah, it not only is it now that they use the excuse of proprietary software, we can't look inside the machines, they're refusing to give us the ballot images. They're refusing to let us inspect the ballots. They get the shit, push it through the machines, and verify it themselves. There is no checks and balances right now. And it's every single step of the way that we have been asking for data when we're simply saying, okay, hey, listen, you got your results, right? Let us look at them real quick. Let's verify them, and we'll be on our way. Why would it be so hard to say, okay, let's just verify these results, take a look at them, make sure they're well, make sure they're good? I mean, are we supposed to just trust what they tell us? And in every single step of the way in this particular general election, and it is just a shame, fam. Raji Rob told me something, Johnny. I always say talk to Johnny when I'm talking about Raji because he knows how he works with him all the time. He says, we could really use these 72 million people right now that have their eyes on election integrity. Can you imagine if the progressives, the people that I've been so critical of, the Michael Tracy's, the Jordan Sheridans, the Aaron Mateys, the Kyle Kalinskis, all these people right now that are like, oh, this is just so stupid, who really don't know a lot about elections, just said, you know what? Maybe enough is enough, and maybe we should stand with these people, get all the progressive people to say, let's stand with the Trumpers, and let's go ahead and take a look at what they have. Let's make them open up to us, give us the forensic audits, let them check their work, have independent audits, and catch them. We could have gone back, because let me tell you something, fam. I got a call from somebody, and he didn't want to give me his name. He showed me his work. He went over the Michigan 2020 primary, and he charted it. He goes, Pasta, they stole it from Bernie here. We could have gone back and looked at all these things. These statisticians could have said, hey, look, boom, these people cheated over here, or something went on. We could have brought eyes on them, eyes on the Adam Schiffs, eyes on the Nancy Pelosi, eyes on the Debbie Wasserman Schultz. And that's the one that just drives me crazy. For anybody to think that Debbie Wasserman Schultz fairly won any of her elections against Jen Perlman or Tim Canova, they are sniffing some serious glue, and I want to try it. If you get the chance, ladies and gentlemen, go back to the hearing, watch it. There's a lot of good stuff. But there was this one clip from Tracy Beans, and it just, you can
shout out to Todd Jones.
Todd Jones, we love you. One clip here from Tracy Beans. If you get the chance, now Pulitzer's testimony was over 30 minutes, and it was just juicy every single step of the way. And he seems to be talking to both sides of the aisle, nonpartisan. Hey, I can tell you if the paper comes from China. Hey, over there, progressives, I can tell you if this is fair or not. We can go back and look at the stuff from 22 months ago. I mean, there's so many avenues this guy has presented. and he's been around for a long time. I don't think I've seen a witness like this. And there's been people in election integrity. When I got this information from this guy about 3 weeks ago, I sent it to them. They're like, wow, that is some really good, interesting stuff. We have all the means to get a forensic audit every single step of the way. Let's take a quick listen right here to a part of his testimony. And I encourage everybody, I know it's a little tedious and these things are long. Go back, find this guy's whole testimony. It's amazing, guys. For people saying there's no evidence, once again, serious glue. Johnny?
Teams working on this and our technology teams into it. And as was broke early in the week and last week about connected devices, at this very moment at a polling location in the county, not only do we now have access through the devices to the poll pad, the system, but we are in. And it's not supposed to have Wi-Fi, and that's not supposed to be able to happen. So we've documented now. It's communicating two ways in real time, meaning it's receiving data and sending data. Should never happen, shouldn't be Wi-Fi. We've now documented it in real time so we can suck down the data. But that's going on right there where everybody's voting. And I just wanted to get it into the record.
Thank you. Well, Mr. Jones?
One of those, is it a mobile precinct or is it a?
No, it's a standing building.
Okay.
That this should not happen. And shouldn't happen in any way, but this is another one in real time. Won't disclose location because every location is being checked, but we've now confirmed it 100%.
Right. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Senator Beach, did you? And now come to Still Beach and Tillery. Did you have a question? Okay, well, Senator Tillery.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. We've heard that there's 3 different types of machines: a scanner, a ballot marking device, and a polling pad.
Right.
Do you know which one it is communicating, or can you tell that? Or
Right now, what you heard in the past was coming through the thermostat and stuff. This is now a more direct access way, and so this is coming through the polling pad device where they're checking everything. But now, it only takes one device where you daisy chain them together and do it. The most important thing is that shouldn't be two-waying and even shouldn't be accessible or on, and it's there. Were there any other questions?
Could I ask him one question? What effect could somebody with dishonest purposes, what could that person do given this access that's going on right now in Fulton County?
Statistically, what can be going on when you have an operation like this is as that data is being exchanged and somebody's in it, can actually siphon off that data, modify the data, and feed it right back into the system. Or
Yeah. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that we've been talking about for forever on this show.
Yeah.
When Johnny found the
Exactly.
the SIM card thing in New Hampshire, that when we were all there, when he was explaining, oh no, it can't connect. No, it can. That's the problem. There shouldn't be that capacity for that to happen. Now, I mean, he explains it pretty well. I mean, this is nothing new. People need to hear about this and stop brushing it off as conspiracy just because it's coming from a Republican. I mean, that just has to end right now.
I put that video up, that particular part of the hearing. There were so many different parts, but I wanted to put that up as an ode to Jonny Tsunami, who did catch the guy with the SIM cards, got him caught him saying that. He did see the Ethernet cord inside that room, which is illegal. Once again, there's supposed to be air gaps, no internet in the room. So I put that particular clip up there for Johnny to show you guys. We've been talking about this for how long? And Johnny has caught this stuff twice because he was looking for this stuff. We caught this at primaries and in general elections and whatnot. And here you got a guy coming in here and saying, and fam, it is so bad because now you can exchange data from a distance and then put in new data. You know what I'm saying? And if we don't get any of the information, and I didn't put my friend, I have a friend, a person who's a follower of the show, who actually is an IT person, worked for MasterCard, I believe, for many years, was talking about how the data is stored and how it's transmitted and all this other stuff and how it's like game over. And people are not talking about the crux of the corruption that's going on. You know what I'm saying? It's not like all these ballots are hand counted. In some cases in LA, we have a 1% audit and it's fugazi as is.
If that, yeah.
But I mean, this is not conspiracy whatsoever. And if the progressives were with us and said, you know what, we should stand with the Trumpers and demand a forensic audit and see what's going on, we could have neutered the Democratic Party going forward to put every single one of their elections under the spotlight, and we would have got real progressives into office.
It should have been Sanders. Yeah, leading
Yep.
this. Absolutely.
But
Yeah.
totally. I mean, this is a shame that we didn't get it done. And the last video, Johnny, I believe, is just, I just want to show you, because everybody clouds the thing, well, we can't do this over here. If we try to do this, it's going to take weeks, it's going to take months and whatnot. Listen how long this guy says it will take. And this just blows my mind that even the progressives won't even say, yeah, we should just admit, let's go. Why can't we check their work? Let's get an independent audit going. Go ahead, Johnny.
America needs answers. They need confidence in voting back, and we think we can do that. And instead of like recounts that can take weeks or years, if we can get access here in Georgia, we could literally do it in about 3 hours.
That's incredible. And so far, have you made attempts with the Secretary of State?
At every corner, we have to talk to the hand, and they slam the door on us, and it doesn't matter if lawsuits are filed or petitions are filed. Everybody ignores it. I think until today, I think we made a breakthrough. But my question is, if the taxpayers paid for the ballots, if they paid for the voting machines that the states and counties use, and there's laws on the books that those are supposed to be kept for 22 months and open for inspection, how can the very election officials that use the people's money, that take the salary from the people to keep them in office, say, well, we can't let you look at these? It's just unheard of. This is the people's information. And I think above anything else, this is no longer about a president. This isn't any longer about a party. This is about, will your vote as an American count from here on out? And that is why we need to scan the ballots.
And so there's also been a lot of people testifying today about the technology, the issues with it. And you actually brought in the breaking story that the poll books here in Fulton County, you guys managed to gain access to. So can you tell me a little bit about what that operation was to do that and what exactly that means?
Well, you heard the Dominion CEO and other people with the voting machine say these things are not connected to the internet. There's no way they can talk to the internet. You saw a story breaking last week where our team did some of these investigations, and we found out that actually even a simple thermostat on the wall had an active relay reading these machines and transmitting data. And so it was very interesting today. Part of what we're doing is scrambling hard because we couldn't keep that story secret. It got out. And so as we're here in Georgia testifying, we're actually going around to all the polling locations to see if we can find these. And lo and behold, right here while we're doing testimony, here's one. It's open. It's connecting to the poll pad device, and we are right in the middle of the election. That should not occur, and that should convince people this is a problem. It's not what you think. We need to stop it now. We need to plug.
Yeah.
Oh my Lord. So we're talking about hours, fam, and even still in the hearings, fam, too, even on top of it, they were saying, well, what if we didn't look at the whole night? What if we just looked at the spikes? He says, we can just look at the spikes. It will take no time. If you give us the data, if you give us the things to look at, we'll have it done in hours.
Yeah.
Not months, not weeks, not years. We'll be able to produce everything. We'll be able to produce evidence of how many times that particular ballot went back into the machine, as we saw in Georgia and Fulton County, that we literally on the video screen, they saw the same ballots go through the machine 3 times. I mean, what evidence do you want? And just check this out, fam. Johnny, I just put it up in the folder. Did you grab it? It is the Gateway Pundit. Once again, there is nobody reporting on this. It says breaking big. Jovan Pulitzer says Georgia called in trucks to get rid of the evidence in Fulton County he's supposed to be scanning. So every step of the way, and you heard him say, we had Benny Smith on this show say, it's proprietary software with public funding. How many times have we said, Maria Estrada, for public requests, Angelica Duenas, Raji Rob, this is our information. We pay for it. It's our data. Dr. Shiva said it on the show. Give us our fucking data. Sorry for cursing, Mom.
Regardless of what you think, whether there's enough evidence to convince you that there was fraud in the general or not, the fact of the matter is we need to reform our elections, right? Like, obviously, our elections are a sham. We don't have access to our own data. We pay for this, and we have a system where it can be easily hacked, where actual computer developers have told us it can be hacked, where statisticians have told us about the mathematical anomalies, where there is no procedure to actually have a checks and balances when it comes to the mail-in ballots, when it comes to the ballot harvesting, when it comes to even something small as doing as assembly delegate elections in California. There's not a system of checks and balances. There is no audit. We can't look to these machines, etc. So all of that is true, regardless if you feel that Trump was cheated or not. So you should be for this. You should be for it being open. The politicians, and like we said, you and I disagree here, Pasta. I don't think that enough people around Trump actually want to find the truth. I don't really think that that's going to happen, because the establishment on both sides of the Democratic Party and the Republican Party benefit from a more dictatorial approach to our elections. What else can you call it? If we had a populist election system where our votes actually counted, you wouldn't have Mitch McConnell be the senator of Kentucky when he has an abysmal approval rating, when you have people
Nancy
like Kamala
Pelosi.
Harris
Yeah.
and all these people who have abysmal approval ratings. Nancy Pelosi, abysmal, lower than Trump ever had. How are these people in power? It's not just because they respond to lobbyists and corporations. It's because they stay in power. They're selected. So if you want all these populist things, you have to make sure your vote counts. And right now, it seems to me that our votes aren't counting.
You better believe it. And I think it's the number one issue, because no matter what we want, you know what I'm saying? It's nonpartisan. It's the will of the people. That's what this country was built upon. And we can do so many great things. We can get so many populist or progressive, whatnot, some civil liberties people in there, you know what I'm saying? Because the Democratic Party used to be all about civil liberties, and now they just walk away from it because they benefit from big tech, you know what I'm saying? And this is kind of like a digital coup. There's just ways to fix an election. And the sad thing about it is people are getting duped to believe that the ends justify the mean. They don't understand policy. They don't understand how it works. They don't follow their money lines. I do believe there is a little bit too much China scratch cat fever, if that's what you want to call it, whatnot. I'm not denying that there's any involvement with China, but I'm not going to walk away and say this is the establishment doing this. They're pulling the strings. I don't care who's involved, who's doing what. If we clean our own house, if we make sure that our politicians abide by the law of the land, then we'll get the results we want. Right. And you can go back and look at all these elections in the past, and you can just see this shit, because they're stealing elections. They've been stealing them. And this would have been our moment to shine, to really get in there, to really get some transparency, to do what you said. Let's fix the actual system itself. And we are blowing it. We are really, really blowing it. That is the progressives on this one. We shouldn't be the only ones with Ben Swan talking about this shit. There should be a lot of people in here. Because, and I hate people that are saying, oh, this is QAnon stuff and stuff. Like, no, guys, these elections are set up to be fraudulent. And the way these spikes happen, it's just so abnormal. And people are really going around. I was having that argument on Twitter with Jordan Charlton, and he literally tells me that, it was late mail-in voting coming in and mail-in favor of Democrats. I'm like, dude, you're just actually
regurgitating the same shit. Yeah.
As Chris Cuomo on CNN was saying, no, I'm like, I was really condescending. I said, let me educate you, my man. It's mail-in ballots never, ever favored Democrats. They favored older people. Older people tend to be more conservative. And in the case of Wisconsin, where they didn't send out these ballots everywhere, you had to still request them. More Republicans requested them than Democrats. Johnny Sue can tell you in California, we saw a week before the election, 2 million ballots were already processed through the machine. So don't sit there and tell me that it's the late mail-in ballots coming when you don't even know what the hell you're talking about. They stopped the county, kicked people
They were
out
already
of the room.
counted. Yeah.
This is terrible.
Those ballots
this
were
is
already
bullshit.
counted. You want to do some super chats or anything, fam?
Yes. Flying Boar. Both Pelosi and McConnell are wealthy, rich, but can't give the people $2,000. No, they cannot, and it is disgusting what they are doing. God damn it. And I know a lot of people are going to say, the Republicans. Remember the people who criticized me? We talked about we wanted to make things work in this Democratic Party, right? We were all part of let's get our own people in there and reform. Okay? When I said, well, let's take a look at Kevin DeLeon. Those people are now regurgitating establishment talking points and are doing what the AOCs and the squad are doing, gaslighting and pointing the finger at the Republicans when they can't even hold their own party accountable. Force the vote.
All right.
One more super chat.
Okay.
Sebastiano. Happy New Year feed, Johnny and Pasta. Thanks for speaking the truth. Hearts from Cenk iPhone. from Chenk's iPhone.
All right. Thank you guys so much for the super chats. So let's just run through this. You guys have probably been talking about it. You've seen me talking about it. Because it seems like the Democrats have, obviously, like we just talked about, they folded on the $2,000 stimulus, right? The squad is likely going to vote for Nancy Pelosi. They're likely not going to bring Medicare for all to a floor vote, even though there has been that gigantic push from the left. But it doesn't matter. It's all okay because Jimmy Dore yells a lot, right? Because Jimmy Dore is angry and he curses and he says fuck too much. So none of that matters. Let's just gloss over all of that. So I wanted to point this out and show you guys because people keep talking about, ooh, he's dividing the left. Oh, you guys are just angry and there's so much anger and cursing and all of these things. And they're bringing up the civility thing, which is interesting because these people didn't like it when the Hillary supporters or when the Biden supporters or the Kamala supporters were saying, ooh, a Bernie bro was mean to me online. That's awful. Now that a lot of these people are turning it around and completely using the same exact tactics, right? And so this person posted a screenshot, right, of Jimmy Dore that says, I don't care what the context is. If a man starts screaming at me like this, I'm fucking hanging up. There was also a video that somebody else took out of context, and I'm not going to play the video because it's out of context, that a lot of these people were retweeting, but basically they're focused on taking the town hall that happened last night out of context, clipping it up, and showing Dore screaming at the establishment or screaming about the establishment. There was one guy in particular, Ben, I forget his last name, but he was he was getting into an altercation with Jimmy Dore, and Jimmy Dore screams and he was cursing. He curses. The guy curses. I curse. Okay, so and some people don't like that. And it's just honest is what it is. But I needed to point this out because what we're seeing here isn't necessarily a divide. It's just an unraveling. You're seeing everybody who's really for the people, who has health care, those who have health care, who don't care about necessarily needing this money, who don't care about actually helping other people, who want jobs with the establishment, who want to make sure they at least leave an avenue for a possible career with mainstream media, who really, honestly, say they're for Medicare for all, but they're only for it because it's a progressive brand, who haven't lived through situations where they absolutely need health care, where, you can't go to the doctor, you can't get your eyes checked, you can't get your teeth checked, you can't, you have to go resort to these other instances, go to Mexico or literally just do nothing because you can't afford health care because it's so goddamn expensive in this country. Those people who don't know what that is, they're fine telling you to wait for the right moment. But everybody else that is really in it for the people who really sees the suffering and who really wants to help out or who has experienced it like Jimmy and Steph did, you really see it for what it is. And I mean, I've seen what it would cost to not have healthcare. And I mean, I don't have healthcare. So it's like, for me, it's like very personal to really throw this elitist spin on it, this gaslighting by people like Cenk Uygur, who of course takes all this money, right? And he said, and the force of vote turns on itself. It was inevitable. There's someone in the town hall who needs serious psychological counseling. Can you tell who? These folks are mostly well-intentioned. They have a fine strategy that is slightly mistimed. Mistimed, he says. But the circular firing squad is nuts. And of course, like I said, this is a video of the town hall last night, a clipped up 2-minute and 20-second video where Jimmy Dore is just ranting and he's angry. And it's taken out of context by so many of these blue check marks, not just Cenk. Ryan Grimm had a whole thing to say about it too, where he was just mocking. But Pasta, I want to hear your opinion on Cenk talking about the timing, right? It's not the time yet. When is it?
Yeah. It's always not the time, and obviously we understand that check that that Chen got and a $3 million salary a year, what it's going to pay for him to do. It's going to pay for him to what the Italians call stata zi, which means shut up and just go along with the establishment narrative. That's who your daddy is. That's who's paying for it. So he could just shove it up his ass. If there's ever been a time to push for Medicare for all, it's now in the middle of the pandemic. Let me tell you something about Jimmy, okay? Jimmy gets excited because people are dying. He got excited. He made a name for himself, getting excited in Iraq and Afghanistan as he saw these bullshit wars taking the lives of not only our children here in the United States that come back all messed up, depressed, and and what do you call when you're mentally ill and you PTSD, all right? Not just the PTSD, but the bombs were dropping on people over there. So him getting excited is very, very merited. Right now, Medicare for all is needed. Our lives, a lot of the Medicare for all, the people who have Medicare, period, it's tied to their jobs. Well, guess what? During the pandemic, they told you to stay home and you lost your job. So how many millions of people lost their job and how many people are going to die because they don't have it? So to all you neo-progressives and your blue check marks and your Chegs and your Jason Ideola, whatever your stupid name is, you can eat a bag of Richards. People are dying, and I'm glad Jimmy is speaking up. Somebody needs to get mad over here. Why the hell aren't we all mad? It's a pandemic, fam. They wouldn't even give me a COVID test because I didn't have insurance. Kiss my ass.
Exactly. And the people who, like I said, you have Ryan Grimm, you have Cenk Uygur, part of the elite progressive journos who really, really want to keep their jobs. I mean, The Intercept has lost all its credibility, especially with Glenn Greenwald not being able to do real journalism that is objective if he stayed there. So I just want to read what this person wrote because this person managed to do a whole thread. I mean, they managed to do a whole thread just with smears, and I thought this is what, like the fourth week, the fifth week, I don't know, I've lost track. This is at least like the fourth week, and people are still talking about how Jimmy Dore yells. I mean, I'm so sorry, but if you're more concerned about his yelling and his aggressiveness than people fucking dying, and about than about like all of this coming together, it's not just healthcare. Like, force the vote on healthcare, but look at what they're doing with the stimulus, right? It was Carcosa Lobbyist 7 said, during the Force the Vote town hall after party, Jimmy Dore passionately makes the case that progressive members of Congress who won't go on his YouTube show are the people standing between us and healthcare. And yeah, let me just clarify, Katie Halper had like a Zoom thing after the town hall, and that is where this happened with all these people in it. Not Pelosi, Schumer, or Biden, not McConnell or other GOP electeds, not pharma executives or the for-profit finance-owned hospital lobby. The reason people are suffering under our broken healthcare system is because the squad won't help Jimmy Dore grow his audience. Like, this obsessive need to protect the squad, too, like, by using Dore. A pattern that repeated throughout the night. Ben Spielberg, that's his name, says something innocuous and incontroversial. AOC and Pelosi are different. Dore flies into a rage, steamrolls its Haiti helpers' lame attempts to moderate, and then reaffirms and justifies Dore's antics. During this particular freakout, Dore responds to Katie Halper's attempts to moderate by screaming over her, telling her to fuck off, then dismissing her words as claptrap, and she takes it all like an absolute doormat. Just a shocking lack of disrespect on here. This person literally cut everything out to make it look like that, but that's not exactly what happened. Jimmy Dore was yelling about to the gentleman, Ben. He was yelling at him because he was making excuses for AOC. And I'm frankly tired of people making excuses for AOC. AOC was supposed to be opposition to Nancy Pelosi. We shouldn't have to beg her to oppose her. She should be doing that on her own. He is asking her to do the minimal because it's not going to guarantee anything. It's at the very least what you could do, get it out there during a pandemic, cause this movement to rise like it's rising now. But he can't even do that because now people are looking up his house. Didn't that happen with Bernie Sanders when Bernie Sanders had 3 houses? Didn't the Democratic establishment, blue check elites, go after him and try to smear him that way? Didn't they write articles with very, very disgustingly and racist, Jewish sort of anti-Jewish caricatures. Yeah, it was extremely anti-Semitic, and that happened. And how do you turn around and say that's not okay, then turn around and talk about houses in LA? You guys don't know shit about houses in LA. It's expensive to live there. A shack costs over $700,000. Like you can fix your home up. A lot of my friends bought homes way before they got super expensive. It's ridiculous. Why are we discussing curse words? Why are we discussing houses? Why are we discussing saying that this is sexist? I don't care if he's angry. You know what? Be angry. Now is the time to be fucking angry. Now is the time to let that anger drive you into action, because for too long we've been standing by the sidelines and have let this Democratic Party drag us through and have done absolutely nothing for us. At the very least, you should be angry. What we should be doing more is storming DC right now. We should all be there, demanding what we want. You look at what happens in other countries. Millions of people go to the streets. Millions and millions of people, when they want something, they do it. America can't even do this. And it's the bottom line for me. Who cares if he says fuck this and fuck that? Who cares? Yeah. Why is that such a big deal? Civility in a time of crisis, in a time when you're screwing people over. Americans are getting fucked over and over again, and you're worried about his curse words, and you're turning it around and saying this is that and that. I don't care. It's irrelevant to me, because civility right now in this time is the language of the oppressor. They're trying to tell you, shut up, pleb, and don't say anything that is offensive. And you have to get over that. 100%, we have to get over that. I'm sick and tired of talking about the same shit. Yeah. Like, I'm sick and tired of it.
The sensationalism that these people loving and praising AOC and the squad, we're asking them to do what they said they would do when they got there. AOC's video that went viral for her campaign was all about, the Democratic doesn't do anything unless they're forced to do it. So what we need to do is force them to put Medicare for all, on the table. We need to force them to put money into working people's pockets. We need to force them to talk about poverty and get people off the streets. What have you done? You've capitulated to the establishment every step of the way. And when a comedian who calls himself a jagoff working in his garage is forcing this and getting Twitter trending, you're going to sit there and say that you don't like his voice or his rhetoric? Take your virtuosity cloak off, your virtue signaling, and shove it up your you-know-what. We need results. We are dying out there. And when we do come out of this pandemic, what do we have to look forward to? How many people are going to be evicted off the streets? They have done nothing. Nothing. They need more than just yelling. And then we need to show up at their offices and in their houses. Enough is enough. Seriously, people are dying out there. People are dying. Where are the progressives?
It's awful to see. I mean, we're seeing it every day, especially living in LA. When we're there, we see it all the time. It does not stop. And people are doing what they can. But when you have the privilege of not caring about your health care, of not caring about money, then of course you're going to dismiss it. And that's what bothers them. There's an elitism and a aristocracy that developed within the progressive movement that is trying to replace the establishment. They have literally become that which what they were saying that they oppose so much. There is an elitism. Even right now, there's still an elitism. I mean, the independent media, there's an elitism like between people who are blue check and people who are not. I mean, that very much exists. And the fact that this is so bothersome to so many people is beyond scary. And we have to keep going. Ignore those people. Be angry, use your anger to do something about it, because we're at that point, you guys, where electoralism isn't going to save us. You're not going to vote yourself out of this. There's no way there's enough time and people are going to last that long to vote themselves out of this. So just so you guys know, this isn't the divide in the left. This isn't just a difference in tactics. This is a difference in ideology that separates those who are willing to put themselves on the levers of power, who are willing to challenge the system, to buck it, to actually change it, and those who wish to remain and sort of kind of rebrand the system, and so they can be the gatekeepers. That's what's going on here. That's why there's that outrage. It's because it was a working class person that didn't have health care, that isn't the intellectual that they deem proper to lead this movement, and that's why they're angry. And that is the classism we're fighting too.
Yeah, I tell you this much, fam. If the House puts up Medicare for all for a vote on the floor and passes it, I won't curse for 6 months. I'll be nice. I won't go after. I'll give you 6 months. And if the Senate does it for a whole year, I'll be nice. And I bet you we can get Jimmy on that train. I bet you if they bring it up if Jimmy will agree to be nice for 6 months if they brought it up to a vote on the House floor. I bet you he would do that. Well, you know what I'm saying? I certainly would. Like, stop already with the language and the rhetoric and stuff. People are dying. Enough is enough. We've seen this with so many different avenues when it comes to our foreign policy, when it comes to Medicare for all, when it comes to housing, when it comes to jobs. I mean, we are just dying out there. And you see all these other countries that had the pandemic. They gave their workers all their money to stay at home. What did they give us? We got small businesses closing. Everybody built everything they built for. It shouldn't have to happen. And those Congress members that you're getting mad at, that you're getting mad at us for yelling at, they didn't lose a dime. They didn't lose their health care. They didn't have to suffer. They're still putting money in the bank. They're making more money off their policies.
They deserve to be
So
tarred and
shut up.
feathered, Pasta. And
Yes.
all we're doing is yelling. So that's what's
talk.
going on.
Yeah.
All right, fans, let's read some super chats and wrap it up.
Yes, I got some. War Deer Entertainment Boutique Left has traded decency for decorum.
Yeah.
That's nice. Flamboy. Don't know how much congressmen and senators make, but if people can get $2,000 and the politicians shouldn't get paid either. In other words, if we don't get a $2,000 check, they shouldn't get the money. Hey, listen, we've talked about policies and rules and stuff, like when it comes to elections. If you can't get the person out of there in an hour, for every hour you wait, Clinton Curtis said this, you got to pay that person $100. That will motivate them. Hey, listen, if the people don't get $2,000 check, you get $2,000 out of your checks. I think they would pass something really quick, fam.
Absolutely.
Also, another super chat contribution, Malik Clary. Thank you so much for the super chat contribution. It is always appreciated during the New Year's Eve time. Just wanted to say thank you everyone for keeping me sane throughout this whole year. My grandpa died today. We are so sorry. What a terrible way to end the year. Let's make 2021 a good one. Stay safe, everyone. Malik Clary, that is so sad. We are so sorry. We just want to send love from all of us over here at the Convo Couch to you.
I'm sorry.
Yes. That's such a shame. Rob Janelle, this is my first Convo super chat. I humbly apologize. I love you guys. Hi, chat peeps. Assange, fist, heart. Assange, fist, heart. Thank you for that first super chat contribution on New Year's Eve. Nonetheless, we appreciate it. Thank you so much. It was very kind of you. And we got one more super chat right over here, fam. It's a nice one. Thank you. We love the yellows. The yellows are always good. It is from M. Meridian. M. Meridian, I think you say it, or Meridian, or Meriden. However you say it. My glasses are a little foggy. I wish more political commentators were like you two. Bold enough to speak the truth about our fraudulent elections. We love you both. Hey, man, we've been following this for a long time. All of us, all three of us, this has been our thing. It's very, very important to us to get these elections straight. This is a power mechanism. This is a mechanism which they hold on to power. And anything we want, anything what we want whatsoever, we'll never obtain it if we don't obtain fair elections, because the people we try to put in place will not be elected. They'll be selected by the oligarchs. And just look at it. I mean, is it not funny to you, ladies and gentlemen, that AOC and the squad said they were going to do all this stuff, but as soon as they got into play, they start playing ball? I mean, I'm not saying anything, but I don't know what to believe nowadays. I don't know if we've had a fair election. And fam, you've commented before, we'll never know. And a lot of people don't want to deal with that fact. It's a scary fact to think about, that we really don't live in a democracy.
Yeah, we don't. And I just want to thank you guys for all the super chats. I hope you have a very happy new year. And again, we will be right back on track. We're going to be live streaming all of what's going on in DC. We have the two events that we have here, the flyers for. We have the Don't Extradite Julian Assange. We have the times for that. If you are in the area or if you're willing to go, do show up for Julian Assange, especially because, as I said, it's so important that we get as much press coverage for this, and not that many people ever, especially on the left, are covering this as well. And then, of course, we have the Force the Vote protests that are going to be happening as well, and an effort to really show these politicians that people are going to, walk the walk, not just talk the talk, are actually going to go and organize and do these direct actions that a lot of these people who have been critical of have been saying, oh, there's no direct actions. Jimmy just talks. You guys just talk. Well, here are the direct actions that we're going to be covering from people protesting. There's Niko's going, Brianna Joy Gray's going, Nick Brana's going, I'm going, Pasta's going, Johnny's going. We're all going. Frank Analysis is going. Everybody's going, and it's going to be great, and we're going to be speaking as well. So, again, thanks so much for everything you guys have done. We hope that next year is better, but, I mean, I'm not necessarily that hopeful because that's going to be with the incoming evictions and everything else. So, you guys have been awesome.
We're not going to start the year off right. I do have some super rays real quick, fam, too, as well. Debs loves cats. She says, force the vote, force election integrity, free Julian Assange. That's what Deb loves cats. Pasta loves Debs for saying all three of those things because they are three important. We love it. You know what I'm saying?
Those are our issues.
On both sides of the house.
Seriously, those are my three, like the three of the most important issues for us both, for us three. So again, like, we're all living it. We're all here. So thank you so much for the support you've given us this whole year. We really love you. You might see a fee rant, here and there later, but again, we're going to be on the ground, so we're prepping for that. Johnny got some great equipment, so hopefully we'll be one of the few people live streaming there and bringing you all the news as it happens.
Yeah. 2 more super rays on the Rokfin. We had 22 people up over there. Thank you so much. Scotty Johnson, thank you so much. I know Scotty Johnson. That's my boy over there. And also Hogfart S. I love that name. Hogfart, keep being mad. It's the only thing they listen to, fam. They want your fee rants. For Pasta Jardula,
Fiorella,
Johnny
Sue,
on the ones and twos.
Convo out. Happy New Year. We love you.
CNDC.
Peace.